Welcome to Space
Erased,
the NASA Fraudcast. I'm your host, Chris.
and I'm Rachel.
And welcome, everybody, to episode 108, part 3 of the ISS Hoax. How you doing tonight, Rachel?
I'm well. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing pretty good. Well, all things, considered. This has been kind of a rough week for Space Erased, the NASA Fraudcast. We've the last episode we put out, episode 107, came under attack from YouTube. They filed some bogus copyright, claim against us and forced us to pull the video. So we lost some much-needed views on the channel, unfortunately, and some great comments from some folks. But we fixed it, and it's back up now for everybody to enjoy. We just pulled the sensitive material out of there, the offending material, and moved on. So we appreciate y'all for bearing with us, and thank you. A lot of people actually commented and brought this to our attention before we even knew that it was pulled. So you guys are awesome. Thank you for being on top of everything here.
Check it out too. It's a great episode.
Yeah, it's a fantastic episode. That's the Flat Earth Part 2 there. So without further ado, let's hop straight into the news.
All right, so recently B.O.B., the rapper, has come on Twitter and announced his support of the flat earth theory. He believes the earth is flat. It began with a tweet. He tweeted a picture of himself on a mountaintop and the sunrise in the background behind him, and the caption read, "The cities in the background are approximately 16 miles apart. Where is the curve? Please explain this." And along with his flat earth theory, he stated that he believes NASA is hiding the truth. And according to this NPR.org article I'm reading, they make him sound like an idiot. They say he shared several meaningless diagrams, and this sparked a response from scientists, NPR says astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. So he said, Earth's curve indeed blocks 150, not 170 feet of Manhattan, but most buildings in Midtown are way taller than that. He also said Polaris has gone by 1.5 degrees south latitude. You've never been south of Earth's equator, or if so, you've never looked up.
Yeah, so this started a 50-plus tweet veganza, if you will, with rebuttals from astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he basically publicly mocked B.O.B. for his opinion on the flat Earth.
Yeah, and the most mocking one was from Neil deGrasse Tyson is, let's see, dude, to be clear, being 5 centuries regressed in your reasoning doesn't mean we all can't still like your music.
Oh, man, so yeah, he's approaching everybody as being the cool scientist guy, and don't worry, everybody, go back to sleep. This guy is just crazy over here talking about flat Earth. Anyways, NPR writes a scathing article, again, wholly meant to discredit B.O.B. for his opinions there. And then The Nightly Show on Comedy Central invites Neil deGrasse Tyson on to go have like a mock rap battle-esque routine by himself. Again, where he repeated his case and tried to make B.O.B. look ridiculous. Here's a quick quote from the Nightly Show. It says, this is a symptom, this is Tyson talking, he says, this is a symptom of a larger problem. It's a growing anti-intellectual strain in this country that may be the beginning of the end of our informed democracy. Oh no, people are thinking for themselves.
And in addition to this, we should just point out B.O.B. also released a song called Flatlines. He takes a shot at Tyson, as well as bringing up the number 33, the Freemasons, and of course the Flat Earth Theory.
Which is pretty ballsy. Tyson, I think it's also worth mentioning, Tyson states being wrong is harmful when in reference to B.O.B. having like a public voice for, outreach to people. He says it's harmful to the health and wealth of our citizens. And then Tyson alludes to Isaac Newton's bullshit. And then he ends the segment by saying, quote, the Earth isn't, mind you, this is an astrophysicist talking. He says the Earth isn't fucking flat. And then he says, and by the way, this is called gravity. And then he does a mic drop, like Eminem and 8 Mile. Rachel's got some information on Tila Tequila, and then we got to get moving in here into the next bit of the program.
So Tila Tequila, as well as another celebrity that's come out, celebrity, like C-list, D-list celebrity. But she's come out in support of the flat earth theory as well, beginning with a tweet on January 7th, a couple tweets. I'm never going to get over this, hashtag flat earth. And if the earth was a spinning globe, then how come airplanes can still land without crashing? Because the face of the earth is flat, not a globe. The last one was, if the Earth was a spinning globe and the sun is supposedly 150 million light years away, then how come the sun rays beam straight down? Hashtag flat earth.
Yeah, so I mean, our synopsis of this whole deal is that this is definitely a very public psyop. It's a deliberate attempt to publicly humiliate any public voice who challenges the conventional scientific thinking in this country, and it's evidenced by the U.S. military. They've got a video right on YouTube, which is like, if you just type in psyop, it's the first thing that pops up, and it's like the U.S. military's training guide on psyop. If they're using it across if they're using it overseas, they're definitely using it here in the country, and obviously that's no good. The thing that should stick out to you as being extra crazy about this whole deal is if the theory was so crazy, why would these very popular public officials and scientists like go way out of their way to discredit this guy? If it was such a lame deal, why wouldn't Neil deGrasse Tyson just make one tweet that went, "Ha, idiot"?
Yeah.
Like that would diffuse the whole thing.
It's like that Shakespeare quote, "Thy doth protest too much." It's either that or this is,
But the powers that be, I feel like they're sending a very clear message here. They're saying, leave this flat earth topic alone and nothing good will come of you talking about it. But
they're just making more publicity out of it by responding.
I think it's just, it's to close that case. It's if somebody started talking about it, let's get, and I saw it on Fox News. They did a technical program called like 4 and 4, where they talk about 4 scientific topics in 4 minutes. And one of the topics involved was the flat earth. And they mentioned B.O.B. and you got 4, pretty ladies sitting again talking with each other. Oh, there's one guy. He's a editor for a science magazine. Anyways, all laughing at B.O.B.
Yeah, so they're basically like, let's make a minute out of this and then close the book, close this chapter.
So let's hop into the core content, the subject of tonight's episode, which is, again, this is the ISS Hoax Part 3. Tonight we're going to be talking about a segment from The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, where he interviewed astronaut Scott Kelly. Anytime NASA hits network television, I get pretty excited. This goes way back into the day when I was like a little NASA nerd growing up. But lately, my excitement lies purely in the fact that all of this is a big show, and it's just it's kind of fun to catch the slip-ups, and this had plenty of slip-ups. Believe me, right off the bat, the interview felt pre-scripted because Stephen is on TV constantly ripping into politicians and everybody else, but this happens to be a complete fluff piece or like a PR piece for NASA. And upon rewatching the clip, I noticed a few oddities. So right off the bat, we'll show you some images since we are being extra careful to not get nailed with copyright infringement. Again, we can't play the clip. But we can show you a few images and talk over those images because this is under fair use. We are talking about the matter and presenting it as a news piece. So don't come after us, YouTube. The backdrop in this video is 100% stationary. Pay close attention to it. It's not a video. It's a picture stationary. And there's a man green screened on top of that as a composite image. And that man's Scott Kelly, of course. It doesn't look very realistic in the sense of when you look at the movement of Scott Kelly when he's going up and down, that looks more to me like they're moving the camera up and down. And if you've ever messed with a green screen before, you know that the picture stays stationary, but your object that you're filming will move in the frame there. So I feel like that's how they're faking his movement. Kelly in the close-ups bobs in an odd way, which again would denote that's something happening with wires possibly, or the camera's being moved. When they do the far back shot, we'll put up a picture of that. When you see his full body length, that looked odd too. And on closer inspection, I noticed that Kelly doesn't fit the frame correctly. He looks too small for the room he's in. So I think that's a slip up on the editing side of one of NASA's fraudulent editors there. Again, Rachel noticed this too as we were watching the video. His answers seemed really canned. And completely void of personality. So here's three, reasons for that. Oh, do you have a point?
Oh, well, he's got the personality of a saltine cracker.
Totally,
to watch.
man.
And we watched that documentary, A Year in Space, which is fascinating.
We would highly recommend
and seems
that,
like total disinformation, but he's just not fascinating in the least.
No, they try to get into his family life and show you his girlfriend and all this stuff. And first of all, she's way too cute for him. I don't know how. It's got to be the astronaut thing that's getting him to land that girl. But anyways.
Land.
No pun intended. I don't know. So three reasons why the script seemed a little canned to us. One could be that he literally has no charisma or personality, which, there's a strong case for that already. Two, it's pre-scripted. And then three, as I recently learned from a video called, and I highly recommend you guys check this out as well, it's called ISS Hoax, Evidence That the ISS Interviews Are Fake Part 1. They make a very strong case for this, all the ISS interviews being pre-recorded. Like, they happened a long time ago, and they're fishing for responses when people ask them questions. So they can fake any live interview that way by having pre-scripted and pre-recorded answers.
There was one definite pre-recorded video. It wasn't this one, but 3 astronauts aboard, which...
Yeah, it was the blonde girl.
Was it?
Oh, it's the ISS, yeah.
And they handed her the microphone before the question was asked, and then they also basically stated that they were on Earth, like on in the United States.
He goes, I grew up in Maine, and I went to, I had played basketball, was in school, and da-da-da, and all that happened clear across the country from where we're talking to you right now. It's like, hey, asshole, aren't you supposed to be on the International Space Station going, 90 bajillion miles an hour across the face of the planet? I don't know. So all this stuff is starting to stink to high heaven. So that documentary or that video on YouTube makes a very strong case for these things being pre-recorded. That is why the emotions and the answers don't line up very well. And I would have to imagine Steven is in on the fact that this is a pre-recorded deal, or, his network handed him like, hey, just ask these questions in this order and everything.
And then you should mention that Kim Kardashian.
Oh, yeah, that was my next point. It says, I said, this is all evidenced by his lousy response to the Kardashian joke. Steven, at one point, he's mentioned in his Instagram, and he says Scott Kelly has 600,000 followers on Instagram, which is impressive. But I'm sure, the government totally put those numbers together for him. He didn't earn that shit.
And Chris said his Instagram account, or his tweets rather, are pretty lonely sounding.
It's just like a lonely dude in space. Like, please join me. I'm alone. But anyways, Colbert makes a joke. He says, who knows what you could balance? Oh, yeah, this is, he calls him the Kim Kardashian of Instagram. He says, who knows what you could balance on your ass at this point? And then there's a long pause. And then Kelly goes, okay.
No, he says, oh, yeah, he says okay.
Okay. That's just like the dumbest answer. And that's like the climax of the bit. And that's the answer they went with. So, the case for this being pre-recorded is it's like they reset every time they ask a question. It's like a reset. So there's that really long pause. I mean, I understand as an audio guy that there's a delay when you send a signal across a long distance, but this is too long of a delay, and it's not a consistent delay for every question. So that's a red flag to me right there. But I think they use the delay if they're on the ground to sell the hoax like they are really far away. So I think that's important to mention. Speaking of playback, there's no earpiece in Scott Kelly's ear. So how would he hear the questions he's being asked, right? And a lot of other interviews you hear of the ISS, you hear the sound of the person asking the question coming through the microphone of the astronaut. So it's like a feedback loop. But in this interview, you don't hear any of that. So this would be an indication that these were pre-recorded again. Kelly, the whole time, he's kind of hunched over in an uncomfortable way. Now, when I think about space, I think about being weightless and it's all like a floaty, free feeling. I don't think about being all claustrophobic and
He's got a
up.
Strange stance, that's for sure.
So that, again, would indicate there's some kind of harness holding him up, or he might be being held upside down, I've heard people talk about. But it didn't look like the blood was rushing to his face or anything, so I would probably...
It looks like he's floating on one of those big or bouncing on one of those big exercise balls.
Yeah, that was
too.
the point Rachel made when she watched the video for the first time. She's like, is he on a bouncy ball or on an exercise ball right now? Well, I mean, in addition to that, too, he keeps crossing his legs in such a way. You see Chris Hadfield do this on some of the other ISS video interviews. And that's also kind of evidence that he's taken some of the strain. I don't know if you've ever worn like a climbing harness or like a parachute or something like that for skydiving, but when they do it or when they put it on you, they really crank it tight. And for our gentleman audience, you might be able to identify with this better than our female audience, but it really tugs on your goods really well. So when you cross your legs or when you hunch over, it takes the pressure off that. And any man would want to do that if he's standing in that position for an extended amount of time. So I think that's the reason for that. And
I should point out that Chris feels confident that he could set up a green screen and put himself right there next to Scott Kelly on the spaceship.
Absolutely. And that's something we are going to do in the future. Right now, we're just kind of hurting the copyright thing set us behind schedule, so we're trying to get our content out as quickly as possible. So when we do catch up, I think that'd be super fun. We'll put all of us in the International Space Station. We'll give Steven some better answers than Kelly did.
That's awesome.
So the ISS Hoax video also points out another very important thing that Rachel mentioned a few moments ago, that they passed the mic early. So a lot of times they'll be like, oh, astronaut, whatever, this is my question for you. And then that astronaut passes the mic to the other astronaut. And then the person goes, yeah, my other question is for the other astronaut. And it's like, shoot, the mic's already been passed. How did they know who's getting the question? Especially when there's 3 astronauts standing there. It's like, nah, it's too much of a coincidence. So again, that would indicate that there is some screwery going on there. So one last point. Looks like we do have enough time to make it here. It's Scott Kelly's peculiar family ties.
Yes.
Scott Kelly has, and it's mentioned in the interview with Stephen Colbert, that he has a twin brother. His name's Mark Kelly, and he's actually a former astronaut, believe it or not. He's being tested on. Scott Kelly's being tested. Well, both of them are being tested on because Scott's in space now for the longest stay in space. That was the whole point of the interview, is to celebrate that this will be the longest stay of any NASA astronaut in space, 340 days. And Scott Kelly, at the time of the interview, it was currently halfway through that trip. So they're testing the difference between their health, between Mark on the ground and Scott in the air, the bone density, and these other different things. They had a lot of records on Mark since he was a former astronaut, so it made perfect sense to use them as guinea pigs. But Mark's wife is kind of an interesting case. He happens to be married to U.S. Congresswoman Gabrielle or Gabby Giffords, who you guys may remember from a relatively high-profile false flag that happened in 2011 in Tucson, Arizona? I know it happened in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. Tucson. I believe it was Tucson, Arizona. And having lived there at the time, there were just a barrage of news stories for months. Every day I was checking up on her status, and, she's made this miraculous recovery, and she's recuperating and having major surgery. She was shot close to the temple in her head, and there's no sign of scars or anything like that. She talks now with a voice that would suggest something happened. But
is that an act,
Yeah, I definitely think that's an act. She wore a neck brace too for some time, but this congresswoman and her husband, another
Mark, yeah.
astronaut, had to have known about this beforehand, and then afterwards they went trailblazing, and they were just a force to be reckoned with. They went all over the country talking about gun control and trying to get stricter gun laws and all kinds of stuff. So that indicates to me that it's probably a false flag, and that's just too many coincidences. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They started a cult, like a foundation called Americans for Responsible Solutions, which was like a gun control advocacy group. With a recent gunshot to the face victim as your front woman on the campaign, it was pretty powerful as far as being suggestive. And
in Arizona, it was on for months, like I said, but it did make national news as well, and it was a big story in the national news. Most of our viewers have probably heard of it.
Yeah, I was living in Minnesota at the time, and it made it all the way up to us, so that's clear to the other side of the country there. that advocacy group name kind of mimics or mirrors that whole Obama thing where he's talking about, every time a new shooting happens, he goes, oh, well, we need to have a conversation about common sense gun law reform. And, they frame it up like, come on, man, it's common sense. We're not trying to take your guns away. Just common sense. It's all good. Just give us your guns. Go back to sleep. You've already got Dianne Feinstein saying, give us your guns, Mr. and Mrs. America, or it's time to hand over your guns, da-da-da-da. I mean, these guys are obviously making a run to disarm the American people so that they can run their agenda against an unarmed population. Total bullshit. We're on to it, and we're not going to stop talking about it until it's over.
And then also, I think it's fascinating that NASA admitted that they were doing experiments on the twins, and, we don't know what that entails. Like, I'm sure they are seeing how fake space affects Scott Kelly, but who knows what experiments they're running, and it's just eerie.
If any experiments at all, right? But I think the thing to take away with the Gabby Giffords thing is that she had a miraculous recovery and rehab time. It was like super fast. If you look at pictures of her today, there's no wound on her forehead where she was shot, which is total garbage. There would be something residual there, and no makeup is good enough to cover up a gunshot wound to the head. This shows, this family thing shows like a tight-knit group of people. I see, this is being used to carry out this hoax with a small group of people. It's easier to keep that secret contained with very few loose ends. So we are running low on time, Rachel. Let's hop straight into Q&A. Are you cool with that?
Let's do it.
Let's see that sweet Q&A graphic. All right. Our first question comes from... It's going to be James Kirk. Oh, yeah. He was the dude that turned us on to the Flatline rap in the first place when it first came out. So he was right on top of that. Thank you, James, for being on top of that and letting us know.
Thanks, James.
The next comment is coming from, Del Bedinati. He was on our last episode. He is a dude, by the way. We apologized about that, but we are totally cool now.
Dude, you're getting a Del.
Totally a faithful listener to the show, and we love you for that, man. Thanks a bunch. Dwight L. says, good show, guys. FlatEarth.life says, awesome, guys. I'm a big fan. Very professional. Keep up the good work. Oh, feels so good to hear that.
Yeah,
this is a lot of work.
The best compliment.
And it's nice when people don't call us CIA shills and all this shit and actually appreciate the hard work we're putting in for you. Because the truth is out there, and we will find it, and we're not going to stop. And YouTube cannot stop us. We will keep coming back. This is a long comment from Aladdin Kebab, but we'll read just part of it here. He says, NASA's always claimed that they work for the betterment of humanity. They use taxpayers' dollars and yet hide technology from the public. Here's a small list of technology that humanity today could greatly benefit from. He talks about wireless communication, how we're limited here on Earth with the amount of distance we can do wireless communication with, yet NASA can wirelessly communicate over hundreds of thousands of miles or whatever. Hey, how about sharing that with the American people at least, And
he says that, our taxpayer money is going to this. We haven't benefited from it, but it's a very detailed comment.
Yeah.
Very good job.
So you can see here and
it's
pause
so
the video
nice
to read
see
the whole
a comment that is intelligent and full of,
and
facts and informed and grammatically correct. The theirs and the you, ours and yours. Oh, it kills me.
Yeah.
But that's very well written.
Theirs,
good job.
Yeah, that's my pet peeve. Yeah, there, and there. Yeah. All right, this next one's from Cal for Truth. Dude, we love Cal for Truth. This dude's awesome. He says, hey guys, what happened to episode 107? Did you guys get raided by NASA? I hope not. Yeah, unfortunately, we were under attack for copyright infringement, but we're operating within the guidelines of fair use, or at least to my knowledge we are. So I think that was a bullshit deal. I think they were targeting us specifically just because of the subject matter we cover on the program. Like I said, we will not stop, and these guys cannot stop us. If not, I can make websites. I'll just host this thing on a website, and we'll be free from YouTube altogether. ENFL says this video of yours is now blocked. Careful of the copy wrong bots. Yeah, so he was another person that let us know at the time. I think I was at work when I found out about all this crap. So it's like, no, I'm trapped here. I can't do anything about it. Let's see. Flat Earth and Maui says, hey guys, glad to see you taking on NASA. We need to wake people up. A good documentary to watch is 1997, James Collier, Was It Only a Paper Moon? LEM analysis. I highly recommend watching this, he says. Good luck with your adventure. We thank you very much, Flat Earth and Flat Water in Maui. It was a very nice comment.
Yeah, we haven't seen that. We'll have to watch that. That sounds very good.
Yeah, actually save that. That's something we're going to be reviewing before the next episode we put out. Yeah. All right.
Check it out.
And let's see, Cal for Truth. Man, you write, that's a long comment, sir. But this is a sweet, he said, nice solo, funny jokes. We thank you for the kind compliment there. You guys can go ahead and pause the video if you want to read this whole comment. This is very detailed, and we thank you for the comment, sir. But yeah, this is his thoughts on satellites. Some good stuff. Actually, yeah, I do remember reading this. This is a very good comment.
Another very informative comment.
Scott Marrow is a new face to the comment section here, but he's had a lot of good stuff, and he's actually been doing some back and forth with us, trying to get some links. Unfortunately, Scott, we cannot get your links to work. We want to check them out, but I've tried them on 2 different accounts on Dropbox. Still can't get them to work. So let us know if you have any URL connections. I think I already asked there, but we appreciate you going through the effort of trying to post some information. As promised, I said I would read your comment on the program, but I'm going to read 2. He says, quote unquote, God doesn't have to be a good guy. Oh, we talked about this earlier. I like this comment. He says, keep that in mind. They'd lie about that too. This is a cage after all. A quote, good God creates us and this place and makes a bet with a bad guy so they could watch the misery they both let occur. That makes sense, lol. Yeah, I'm totally right there on the same wavelength as you, my friend. I like that comment quite a bit.
I like that Scott Marrow is a very deep thinker.
Yeah, I'm not trying to alienate anybody. I mean, I've been religious at times in my life. Rachel has as well. I'm open to these things, but I'm just not a fan of organized religion. I don't have a problem at all with thinking that there's a God up in the sky. I just personally don't subscribe to any particular religious sect here on Earth. But he says another comment. He says zero measurable curvature proves Earth is not a globe. Speak about the North Pole. We're on to the people steering us toward Antarctica while ignoring the North Pole. So that's where all these links I was talking about were coming from. Scott's trying to give us some information about the North Pole, which, yeah, we've totally overlooked. I didn't think that there was anything fancy or special going on about the North Pole, but apparently it's more interesting than what's going on with Antarctica. So very great comment. We appreciate your time, Scott.
And then he gives us all those links because you asked him, do you have any insight into the significance of the North Pole? And
this dude's awesome.
That's great.
we just met him in the comment section just a couple, I think today, and he's been super awesome getting us a ton of information. So way to go, dude. All right, I think that takes care of it for the comments here tonight. We thank you as always for watching, guys. Make sure you check out. Or if you have any questions or comments or want to send us some links in a different fashion or a little bit more candidly, we've had some people kind of be like, hey, on the hush hush, I got to send you some stuff. If you need to send some stuff like that, please feel free to send it to nasafraudcast@gmail.com. Again, that's nasafraudcast@gmail.com. Make sure you check out our channel for updates and new videos. That's NASA Fraudcast channel. Anything you want to add before we end the program here, Rach?
Are you thinking of going to a particular day to put out shows?
Yeah,
or are you
absolutely.
Still deciding?
Pretty soon here, we're going to be committing to a schedule. We're going to be, we're going to be dropping episodes on Thursdays and Sundays every week. I'll give you some more information as far as what time of day. It's probably going to be at night. But yeah, check out in the future here, Thursdays and Sundays, we'll be releasing episodes twice a week. That's our aim.
Awesome.
All right, so hopefully this video doesn't get taken down too, guys. We love you all. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Chris.
Thank you. I'm Rachel.
And thanks for watching, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.